Hello and thanks for joining us today. I am joined by Ricardo SANTIN from ABIEC and Cinthia TORRES from ABIEC, the Brazilian Beef Productions Association and the Pork and Poultry Producers Association, respectively. The title of today's session is Vision for a Sustainable Future, and I think, Ricardo, we have a video that we want to look at first of all by means of introduction, so we can play the video. That would be great. Some very impressive, great video, by the way. Some impressive facts and figures in there. One of them I wanted to pick up on, Ricardo, as a key point is, obviously today's session we're talking about sustainability. And one of the questions many people will have is, how is it sustainable for example, people in Europe or people in the Middle East or in Asia to be importing chicken and pork from Brazil? Because, you know, we have a big focus on food miles or food kilometers, the carbon kilometers, the footprint of importing food, and this trend of actually producing and eating more locally. How would you respond to that?
Oh, thank you, George. First of all, I'd like to thanks for the opportunity to greet Mr. Director Roberto Escoto from ABIEC and greeting all the team that ABIEC here, Lais from my team, and Cinthia, my partner on this. I have some figures that I would like to show in the slide. It's not this presentation, it's the other presentation. Brazil has one of the most sustainable production in the world. And we take care so much about this. And we like to do because we do for ourselves. But we have some research that were made showing the carbon footprint of Brazil in comparison with the local production.
Okay, and that research was done by whom?
This research, because people say, oh, you do research. No, this research was made by DEFRA from UK. And it shows that we have 1.2 carbon equivalent ton for any ton of meat produced. In comparison, the local in UK is 2.4. And
so
this is made by DEFRA. It's not a Brazilian side, and it was very old research, 2008. And today, we are better than these figures.
Okay, so just to clarify, DEFRA is the UK's Department for the Environment, Farming and Rural Affairs. Okay. Do we have those slides up? I'm not sure.
I would like to show you
this
the
other,
slide.
it's the other slide, yeah.
Yeah, no, we'd like to change this slide. Okay, she's trying this. But
that's fine. So 2.4 in the UK, 1.2 in Brazil. That's double. But does that take transportation into account? There was a picture of a big freight
No,
ship on that
this, yeah,
video.
actually, yes. This is the framework, the picture that was taken in 2008. Today, probably you are lower than 1.2. But even if you had the freight to bring the product from Brazil to European Union, when you reach the shelves on UK, Brazilian product will reach the shelves 2.47 and the local 2.87.
Okay, so it's still lower footprint with transportation taken into account.
Yes, but nowadays we have a lower footprint because the transportation has more efficiency. In the process in Brazil, we have more efficiency of like a feed conversion rate. We have more photovoltaic solar energy included in the production of the chicken. And so probably if you repeat this research today, I don't know about, and I don't want to talk about the English production because probably they'll improve their carbon footprint as well, of course. But in Brazil, I know, and I'm sure that we will improve, and our carbon footprint probably will be lower than 1.2.
Okay.
They are trying to, sorry, because they are trying to put the figures here.
Cinthia, while they're doing that, maybe, given that your slides are up here as well, over to you. I mean, one of the big topics, as you will be no surprise, is the fact of Brazilian beef production and its environmental impact. And I think it's been a recurrent topic in Europe, and it has been on the lips of many European legislators and regulators. How do you make Brazilian beef production more sustainable? What are you doing in that end?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for our presentation here. Thanks for Panagro, who gives us opportunity to bring information from primary source from Brazil. And we can capture these informations and try to bring a little bit of more information, real information from Brazil. Brazil, against all these informations that come to the media sometimes, Brazil is planting trees. Brazil has the crop, livestock, and forest integration system, which makes us planting forest, raising cattle, and also crop in renewable land use. So we don't have to make deforestation in Amazonia, because we are able to produce without this. In Brazil, we use only 30% of the territory for livestock. So
30% of the territory is used for
agriculture.
For agriculture.
Yeah, 70% of our territory is preserved.
Is preserved as biome. Okay. Ricardo, over to you. When I, as a European consumer, go into a supermarket, why can't... There we go. Right.
Yes.
And I don't know if you want to move the slides on so we can
I can
see.
slide. I can move it here.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I just showed the first slide that you talk about, and so I can send you show you some figures. But this is the slide that shows the figures, the real figures that were found by DEFRA from UK. It's not the Brazilian research, and it shows this. Even if you add the freight, we are lower than the local production.
Okay. Okay. So there's some other figures up there you just flicked through, which I thought was quite interesting. But this one, because it speaks to your point also, Cinthia, in terms of doing more with less, the cereal production slide, which is the next one, I think. But this is no, I think it's the next one, the graph, yeah. This is something that also is reflected in the beef sector as well. So can you talk a little bit, either of you, to this sort of, how do you expand production quite so exponentially while keeping the land area use stable?
As Cinthia said before, we have 66.3% of our territory by native forest preserved. It means more than 4 million square kilometers preserved. And we, in the last years, and here you have 1967 to today, we increase the production, but we don't increase the use of land. And as she said, sometimes we have 2 crops, and in part of Brazil, we have also 3 crops at the same land at the same year. This is not a use. We use the land in a sustainable way, and we don't deforest, and we don't need to do this.
Okay. So you're talking about planting trees because you're also then pasturing at the same time and putting crops in.
Yeah, we use one cycle for pasture, one cycle for crops, and we still have those trees around planted that can be cut to wood. So we have three things being produced in the same area. It's a long cycle, but yeah, we can do this. In beef, we increased 109% our production, and we decreased 15% the use of land for pasture. So improving, we have Embrapa in Brazil, which is a very, very strict and serious scientific study for the government.
Research, agricultural research center.
Yeah. And they are working hard on genetic of the animals, on seeds for the grass. So it can guarantee for us to raise more with less.
Okay, doing more with less.
If you allow me to add something, that this increase of use of technology is to prepare ourselves and to complement the local industries in the world for the next generations, because we have a lot more than 2 billion, 3 billion persons that are coming from today to 2050 that will need to be fed. And we have also in the world this moment something like 1 billion persons in hunger. And so we need to guarantee to give to them the nutrients and the amino acids, essential amino acids that are in the animal proteins, that some of them you cannot find in the vegetable proteins. And so this is good for the health of the people and for the food security of the world.
So beyond food security, which obviously affects other regions, I think maybe more than here, what about the issue of food affordability? That is something that is affecting everybody in Europe from a cost of living standard crisis. We see inflation, particularly in foodstuffs, going up. What role has Brazil to play in tackling that?
Well, Brazil has a vocation by its size, by its natural resources, and we have about 14% of the natural water, the fresh water, is in Brazil. About 28% of the forest of the world is inside Brazil, and we access 155 countries with our beef, with our food. And we have sanitary control very strictly, so we can guarantee a food safety as well. So it's an important issue when we're talking about food insecurity. And Brazil is a partner. We can add value bringing our affordable beef, because we have those sources. We can provide more affordable prices.
So more affordability, but when I go into the supermarket, for example, I don't see Brazilian chicken on the shelves like I do see, I don't know, a poulet de Bresse or a coq de Malines. So where do I find them?
Because we are a partner from the European Union from the last 20 or 30 years, providing raw material for the local processing industry to process here, add the sauce, so cook here, and put the flavor that the European wants to eat, and go to the shelves. But we have more than 300,000 tons of chicken that were exported to the European Union every year. And we have a very good condition, as Cinthia said. We have natural research, grain availability, integrated system of production on pork, chicken, and egg production. We have all the traceability of the system. We can know which kind of food, feed, and medicines and temperature this chicken was raised. Who take care of him, which day I slaughtered him, put on the package, and sent to here. All the chain is and we have also the sanitary status, as Cinthia said. When you look to here, we never ever have any case of avian influenza. This is unfortunately you are facing here in the European Union and also United States. This is OIE report. That shows the world is red dots are where we have active avian influenza episodes.
That is the IOAH, the International Organization for Animal Health report. Okay, that's a very dramatic picture that we see. Obviously, Brazil stands out for the absence of any marks on the map. Yet, quality, animal welfare, and the health of the products are again issues that are often raised by policymakers on this side of the Atlantic. So how do you address those questions?
Well, in poultry, pork, and egg chains in Brazil, we have these kind of figures that I can show you. We have we take care not only the chicken and the pork. We take care about the people. We have the welfare of the animals and the well-being of the people. This slide show you where we are located, and in the red here is the development index of the people. Oh, we export to abroad to more than 160 countries in the world, but we distribute this in a chain of 4 million persons and more than 100,000 small families that produce this. And so we take care of this. We have affordable climate. We have affordable weather to raise chicken. We don't need to heat or to cool them every time.
And is that is one of the major things that lowers the environmental impact of your production. Is that correct?
Of course. It lowers the environmental impact and also the cost, because the cost of production. And this is why here, when you arrive to European Union, we have a special quota system. Out of this quota system, we need to pay €1.30 per each kilo that we export to European Union.
As a tariff.
As a tariff. And of course, we need to remember, we are doing this in the last 20 years, more than 300,000 tons, and it's increased this year more than 20% in volume.
Okay. So just talking about that, because I see here that obviously, Brazil is the third largest producer of chicken in the world, the first global exporter. What percentage of Europe's, the EU's consumption is Brazilian chicken?
Actually, our export to European Union means something like 4% of the total production locally, 3 to 4%
of Brazil's production goes to Europe.
Of the European production.
Consumption, okay,
yes,
comes from Brazil.
But when you look to the breast, it's 3% of the total production. Look to the breast, is something like 20% of the local production and local consumption.
So very much in a niche market of chicken breasts then for European.
Yes.
Okay.
We complement the local industry actually.
What do you mean by that?
Because if you like to eat more breast, you buy 300,000 tons of breast meat from Brazil. If you try to produce here, you need to produce a whole chicken with breast, legs, wings, and all the things.
So what do you do with the rest of the chicken?
What do you do with the other parts of the chicken if people don't want to eat this part? Because they are buying the breast from Brazil. This will jeopardize the local production. This is why I say it's a win-win situation to Brazil and to the local processors that got the raw material from Brazil, process here, create jobs here, pay taxes here, and it's a win-win situation.
Okay.
Brazil beef has the same situation. So we want the world to see us as a partner, because Brazil can provide raw material and the other countries can add value to it. It's affordable price, and then we can assure this food insecurity around the world. So we employ there 140,000 people. So, and we, even being the biggest exporter of Brazil, we just export 25% of our production.
Internationally?
We keep the other part inside Brazil. So yes, we are assuring.
And how much of that do we consume in Europe?
Europe for us represents 4% of our exportations, but here we represent 41% of Europe importations.
Okay.
But we need to add something. We just export to European Union because there is some guy in European Union that buys from Brazil. We are not allowed to send meat here if no one buys. So this is a win-win situation.
This is the main point.
So there's a demand here, is what you're saying?
Yes, of course. And someone complains with Brazil, sometimes complain, you don't fulfill our standards. And we say, we just fulfill integrally this, because in the last 20 years, we send meat to here and people buy again the next year. So
obviously, I mean, if there is importation, obviously, in certain volumes to Europe, therefore there isn't an issue over quality or over assurance, because we're happy to import into the EU. Is that fair to say? So why aren't you exporting more?
Because we have a quota system that don't allow us to export more.
Okay.
So there is some technical issues here that unfortunately I need to say, to my eyes, it seems like a protectionism.
Okay.
It's a real protectionism that don't allow us to export more. We have a Hilton quota for beef. We have a quota system for chicken.
Okay.
We are not allowed to export pork and not egg.
Looking more internationally then, beyond the European focus, to the rest of the world, where are your big opportunities? Where are your growth markets? Where have you been exporting more to? Where have you been having more collaborations with?
In the past, I will try to explain this with the figures of European Union in the Brazilian exports. In the past, European Union represents 15% of our exports. 15.
1-5.
Yes, 1-5. Now is lower than 5. Why? Because we are growing in Africa, in Asia, and South America.
So the volumes haven't necessarily gone down, but
no, the volumes are the same, but we are increasing them.
Okay.
Brazil, the largest exporter of chicken meat, with more than 4 million tons of exports, 4.6 million tons exported to more than 160 countries in the world. And this world has a lot of people having more incomes, and these incomes make them to eat more meat. And we are growing more there than here. Okay. I think the same for you.
Yeah. We used to export 45% of our production, of our exportations for Europe. By now, we export only 4% because we are providing for other countries. We are open markets, of course. And nowadays, we have China and the United States as biggest partners. The United States is a great partner of Brazil. And they can see this win-win game because we send for them food they need. It's a grass-fed beef. It's a lean beef. It's more natural. And you don't have to have the production. In some industries, you need this lean beef because you don't want the fat or the things. And then you have a cost of production taking this fat from other sources. So Brazil can provide this lean, clean. I think the consumer nowadays wants a natural product, and we are that partner to give you natural raw material to produce your food in your country.
Okay. So we have a few minutes left, but I just wanted to go on to sort of the, in line with the theme of this year's SIAL and owning the vision. What is your vision for a sustainable future? Maybe first to you, Ricardo.
Actually, I think that we need to use the natural research that we have all the world. Brazil is not the only that has these conditions. We have all this in the local production. All the world has this condition. We need to focus on it to get sustainability, but also to get food security for the people. I repeat, there is probably more than 1 billion persons in hunger in the world today, and we are going to have more 3 billion persons till 2050. And this is what we need to do. Brazil will very keen to improve more and more and more best practice to produce in a sustainable way. We have a very huge, very strong forest code. We have a very strict rules to produce food in Brazil, and we are verified to more than 160 countries in the world every day in some place in the world, because we export more than 200,000 containers of meat to the world every year. And so
sustainably continuing that trade, do you think you're going to be able to expand production to meet that further demand, or are we going to have to start eating less meat?
No, we can do it. We are ready for this because we have a lot of land, extensive pastures that can be converted by croplands, and we can have grain availability. We already has water, we have the weather, and we have a people vocated. Brazil is prepared to increase production. Probably this year we will become the second largest producer of chicken meat in the world, and you are ready to help the local productions to complement in a complementarity way to produce and provide raw material to process there, or even to eat directly. We just want to do what they want. If there is demand, we are ready for increase in a sustainable way.
Okay. Cinthia, same question to you for the beef sector?
The messaging we want to bring to Europe and to the world is Brazil agriculture is so friendly and so partner as people. Everybody who knows Brazilians says we are friendly, we are happy. Our agriculture is the same thing. We want to be partners. We want to be a part of it. And we want to increase production and help the other countries increasing as well. And talking about being able to increase production, yes, we are ready to do it. We are shortening the cycle of the cattle. We used to kill animals with 50 months, 48 months, 36 months, and now we are in 30 months, sending them to slaughter. So as we short the cycle, we are able to provide more.
And how are you able to shorten that cycle? Does that not impact the quality of the meat?
No, it's not. It's the opposite, because we can short this using grass with more quality coming from this genetic with more quality. We are able to do this.
Okay.
If you allow me, George, in Brazil, we are doing as well the same thing. We are shortening. We have more genetical developments on this technology. In contrary of some countries that want to slow down this process and make the carbon footprint of the production much higher, much costly and much higher. This is what we are doing in Brazil. We are just doing this, and this is why I have this statement. There should be no borders for food.
Okay.
People deserve to receive food and not just protect the local productions, because the poor people in the world need the protein and has the right to have the access to them. This is what you say. There should be no border for food. You are ready to complement the local productions to feed the world.
Okay. Well, with that, that's a great note in which to end it. I want to thank you both very much. Ricardo and Cinthia, thank you for your time.
Thank you
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, George. It's a pleasure to be with you here.
It's our pleasure as well.
Thank you.